This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 268 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is sponsored by Equestrian Collections, for the whole universe of equestrian shopping at your fingertips at a price you can afford. Visit equestriancollections.com. Enjoy today's tip. Hi, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we continue with part 2 of a 2-part series with Dr. Richards, our nutrition doctor from down in Australia. She started yesterday. If you missed that, go back and take a listen to part 1. We started talking about body condition scoring for your horse, and she went through the first 5 levels yesterday, and now she's going to continue through the last of the levels of body condition scoring for your horse. So you want to head on back to yesterday's show, episode 267, if you missed that, and take a listen to it over at horsetipdaily.com. And you'll be all caught up and can take a listen to part 2 then as we continue our conversation on body condition scoring. And as you know, Dr. Richards is the founder of FeedXL, one of our good sponsors here on the Horse Radio Network. They can be found at feedxl.com. And we're going to be back with Dr. Richards right after a word from our sponsor today, Equestrian Collections. Hi, Glenn the Geek here. One of the reasons I am so proud to have Equestrian Collections as a sponsor on the Horse Radio Network is they are one of the most innovative companies in the equine retail world. Their website is so easy to get around and offers so much for the shopper. One of those things it offers is numerous online catalogs. Flip through the pages just like a real catalog. Find something you like, click on it, and buy it immediately. One of the catalogs up there right now is the Summer Tent Sale catalog loaded with savings. 5 pages of savings. So you go to equestriancollections.com and click on the Tent Sale catalog right there on the home page. And flip away, find stuff you like, and buy it right there off the catalog. It's so cool. That's something you can't do when you're sitting on your couch with a catalog. So you can check out all the different catalogs available at equestriancollections.com. And, you know, we always say it, but it's true. Equestrian Collections does provide the universe of equestrian shopping at your fingertips at a price you can afford. Now, Dr. Richards and I continue our discussion on condition scoring with Condition Score 5.
Condition Score 5 is the middle and the ideal for most performance horses. So Condition Score 5, the easiest way to tell these guys is you can't see their ribs when they're standing still. But when they start moving around and turning and things, you should still be able to see just a faint shadow of their ribs. Now, some horses I find are what I call fat ribbed, so they get quite a bit of condition over their ribs, even though there's not a lot of fat in other parts of their body. So that's why we
see that with the quarter horses over here too.
Yeah, we get it in stock horses. Even some thoroughbred fillies will do it as well. So there's not a lot of fat on them, but they're still quite soft over their ribs. So this is where you need to feel their neck. So the crest of their neck becomes really important when you get up into these higher condition scores. So if you feel right on the tip of the crest of a neck of a fit horse that doesn't have a lot of fat, so something that's in score 4 or 5, the skin on the top of their neck will just roll sort of loosely over where their mane is. You can roll it backwards and forwards. And when you pinch it, you kind of just pinch up a piece of skin. There's not like a fat wad there.
Yep.
When you get up higher, if you start running your hands over a lot of horses, you'll start to feel when they get that fat, cresty neck. So feel their neck, feel over their ribs, and look behind their shoulder. They're the 3 places that I find most useful for condition scoring. I tend not to use the tail head, which is mentioned a lot, mainly because when you're condition scoring weanlings and yearlings, it's not a part of the body that you really want to go for, lest you get your head kicked in. Yeah. So I tend not to use that area a lot, and I don't find it particularly useful either. So score 5, they don't have fat accumulated in their neck. You can feel their ribs very easily, but you can't see them when they're just standing still generally. And behind their shoulder, in front of where their girth goes, has still got a lovely shape about it. Getting up to score 6, moderately fleshy, they will start to get a little bit of fat in their neck. The area behind their shoulders starts to fill in just with a little bit of soft fat, and their ribs become harder to feel. So you actually have to press now to feel their ribs. They're a little bit spongy over their ribs. Score 7 is fleshy. I find score 6 and score 7 quite difficult to differentiate because they are quite close. But basically, score 7, there's more fat in the neck, more fat behind the shoulder, and more fat over the ribs. So they are two tricky ones. But the 7 guys are quite soft over the ribs, and they do have quite a bit of fat built up in their neck. Score 8 is fat. These guys are fat, funny enough. So their neck has become really full with fat. So very, it may not have that real cresty appearance. So it may not sort of rise in the middle and have that bump. But when you feel it, the top of their neck is broad, and when you squeeze it, you're not just grabbing skin anymore. In fact, you can't grab the skin anymore because
it's too tight.
Filling it up. Yep. Behind their shoulder, like if you look from their shoulder to their ribs, it basically becomes flush, so it's flat. There is no nice curve in there anymore. And their ribs, you're lucky to be able to feel them. You can feel them back sort of just in front of their I've lost the word. Flank.
Their flank, yeah. Their back end.
It's early in the morning here. So just in like the ribs that are quite close to the flank, you can nearly always feel them on most horses. So be careful not to go for that region. Look at the little diagram in our newsletter and always use the region of the ribs that's shaded there. But basically you almost can't feel the ribs on these horses that are fat. And then score 9, extremely fat. I can probably say that I've never actually come across a horse that is in this category. They're quite rare, but they are just gross.
I had a pony. I bought a pony that was in this category.
Yeah, so they're the ones that, I mean, they've got like the fat bulges around their tail, cellulite. Yeah, and their neck, is so cresty that it'll often hang to one side. Their ribs you cannot find.
And you have to be careful bringing them back down, too.
You do.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean, that goes, we talked about bringing them up from a 1 to get to that 5. Well, bringing them down from a 9 to get back to that preferred category is almost as tricky.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. It's really hard.
You can't starve them. You have to feed them,
No, that's right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about feeding an easy keeper in another tip, I think. But you're right. You can't starve them because you will cause more health problems than they've got being overweight. And it needs to be a combination of diet and exercise as well. You can't just restrict their diet and not exercise.
Well, and it's so funny because this correlates to humans so well. I mean, it's the same thing, when we're trying. By the way, I scored myself at around a 6. I'm saying moderately fleshy. My wife might disagree, but I'm saying...
I was going to say, what would your wife say?
That's what I'm saying. She might have me between a 6 and a 7, but I'm going 6, and I'm sticking with that.
So there's as far as what condition score your horse should be in, or different horses should be in, there is some guidelines. So a growing horse, I like to see them nothing heavier than a 5, because all you're doing is putting too much weight or excess weight on their poor little immature bones and joints. So if you can keep them at a 5, that's perfect for those guys. Pregnant mares and lactating mares, anywhere between a 5 and a 7, depending on the type of horse. So if you've got a mare that drops away really quickly after she has a foal because she puts so much effort into making milk and looking after her foal, then you want to have her sort of towards 6.5, 7. So that she has got weight to lose and not end up looking like an emaciated horse by the time she's finished feeding her foal. But if you've got a really good doer that doesn't drop away after having a foal, then keeping her around condition score 5 or 6 is plenty for them. Most mares, your typical thoroughbred mare, I don't like to see any heavier than a 6 because they just get so cumbersome and they've got so much weight on their poor little hooves, and they're just really uncomfortable. So keeping your normal mare around a 6 before she foals is good. Breeding stallions and performance horses we usually keep around a 5. depending on what they're doing and, again, the type of horse they are. So if you've got a stallion that tends to drop away during the breeding season, you can get him up higher than that before the breeding season. So he's got a little bit of weight to play with. And performance horses, dressage horses and horses where there's quite a bit of focus on how they look as well as how they perform, will often be heavier than a 5, but certainly they shouldn't be any heavier than a condition score of 6, because, again, it puts so much pressure on their joints when they're working. And idle horses that are just sitting around not doing anything in the paddock, anywhere between a 4 and a 6 is fine for them as well.
And this is a very good document. It's a PDF file, and we can find it at feedxl.com.
Yes, yep. Okay. There's a link up the top that's newsletters, so if you have a look in there.
All right, and it was it's titled Why Body Conditions Score. And it is very good. I recommend that people go to that. That's feedxl.com and print this out and just keep it around. It is handy, and it's very well explained. That's one of the things I liked about it. It's pretty clear about which level and also how to condition score your horse. And it has a little diagram there of which parts you go after to check the score.
Yeah.
So very good. All right, great. So the tip today is. Go to FeedXL and look for Why Body Conditions Score and print that one out. Well, thank you, Dr. Richards. Will you come back again?
No problem. I'd love to.
Well, thank you to Dr. Richards for providing that 2-part series on body conditions scoring. And if you missed part 1, as I said, you can go back to listen to episode 267 at horsetipdaily.com. And don't forget, you can find all the tips that we have done in the past, all 268 of them, at horsetipdaily.com. And you can listen to all of them if you want to go back to tip number 1 right there on the website, or download them to your iPod or MP3 player. I've gotten some emails recently of people who are doing that and going back and listening to all of them. It's probably going to take you a little while. We have 268 of them, so it's probably going to take you a little while. So good luck with that. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the network at horseradionetwork.com. I'd love to hear your feedback. Send me an email at Glenn with 2 N's at horseradionetwork.com. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.